Hey Techno Studs! When we have multi-access networks, when they become very large, it can get really chatty. And so we need to elect a designated router and a backup designated router. However, there are times when we just have two devices on that link, and we really don't need to elect a designated router and a backup designated router since there's just two devices. Although it still thinks that there could be more since it's an Ethernet, since it's a multi-access network, and so it's going to still treat it as a designated router, backup designated router as a multi-access network. And so what we can do is we can actually go into our interfaces that are part of our Ethernet connections and specify this is actually a point-to-point connection that you're making here. It's not a multi-access network. So let's take a look at the configurations of how to do that. On our network here, we have all of these layer 3 devices speaking OSPF. OSPF is what's communicating all of the networks to each other. So what we're going to do is these two are point-to-point protocols and they don't go through the election process. But between this router and this layer 3 switch, this is an Ethernet. This is a multi-access network. And this router doesn't realize there's only one other device on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get onto both of these, router 1 and switch 1, and define this as being just a point-to-point network. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to jump onto router 1 and I'm going to do a show IP OSPF interface, and we are looking at FA01. So I'm going to pull this up and it says that it's selected a backup designated router and it's got the information for this. I could also do a show, let's see, IP OSPF neighbor, and we can see here too that this is a DR that's elected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the global configuration mode and to that interface FA01. And within this interface, I'm going to type in the command IP OSPF network, and it's a point-to-point network, and hit enter there. And I'm going to do the same thing to make it consistent on the other side, so which is VLAN 9 is what this is connected to. So I've just did it there, and now I can pull this back up and we're going to end out of here. I'll do my other commands and we'll see if this is actually updated, and we can see that it is no longer has that DR backup designated router relationship there. So I hit enter and sure enough, it is no longer on our connections. We do the show IP OSPF neighbor, we don't see it there. And then we take a look at the interface and same thing on the interface. The state is point to point. So there you have it. That's one way that we can change so that there'd be less chatty on this network that really doesn't need to have that functionality.